Hello all you beautiful people. Did you know that creating art is proven to be good for you? There are multiple studies that show art can help with mental health issues and emotional regulation. Creating art can activate reward pathways in the brain, it can reduce stress, it can lower anxiety levels, and improve your mood. Also, being involved in art programs can help build social connections. So let's get right into how art is good for you and those around you. Now I have a question for you. Have you ever felt low and you just don't know how to overcome it? Do you ever feel arrested by the things you're feeling and you just can't get through it? I'm going to admit something personal here, and that is I've struggled with depression for many years. And in fact, a few years ago, I was actually diagnosed with schizophrenia. But as you can probably guess by the title of this video, creating art has helped me in many ways. When I was at my lowest and I couldn't even figure out my own emotions, creating art was a way to express my feelings when I couldn't even figure them out myself. When I felt like everything else was just spiraling out of control, it gave me a way to relax and take my mind off everything else that I was struggling with. And I bet that you who's watching this, you've probably had some days that you've struggled with too. Have you ever tried using art to express those feelings? Have you ever tried drawing your feelings? Or maybe writing a story? There's something soothing about taking your feelings and transferring them into your artwork. So since we're talking about relaxing here, have you ever heard of mindfulness? Mindfulness is a form of meditation and self-expression. Specifically, mindful art is a type of creative meditation that encourages you to develop a sense of self-awareness and self-expression. Some examples of mindfulness art could be creating mandalas or Zentangles, which are those funky structured patterns you might have seen, creating sensory tools like glitter jars and lava lamps, creating artworks out of natural materials like leaves and seeds, or even just simple coloring pages. The big thing about mindful art is that it focuses on the creative process rather than the finished product. It's not about creating something for the world to see or that you're going to sell. It's about getting in touch and centering yourself. The best part is, no creative experience is necessary. It's a fantastic way to de-stress. So how about you? Do you have any favorite activities or ideas for mindfulness art you can share? But do you think this kind of art is just for adults? I work in school with special ed students. We often start the morning with a drawing or a colouring page to transition from the playground to the classroom. And we make sure to include mindful craft activities at the end of each day, like special colouring pages or plasticine modelling. And this past week, we made glitter shaker jars. The nature of my students, and often kids in general, is that they often struggle to express themselves. And sometimes they'll choose to draw their feelings when they can't describe it with words. So just like adults, even children can benefit greatly from creating art. We use it to make work fun. For one highly work-avoidant student I once had who hated writing, we even created a comic book that we worked on each day, and that was our English together. Back in 2022, I set up an art box for the playground. It was filled with things like blank and coloured paper, colouring sheets, pencils, pens, chalk, crayons, and I'd put it out in the playground each lunch break, or recess for you American viewers. Some students would choose to sit together and draw or make paper planes instead of just not mixing with each other. In 2023, the therapy team took over and set up what was later called the Create Club. Every lunch break, a classroom is opened up with a weekly craft activity. It's become a huge favourite with the students. The school even set up an after-school art therapy for the high school students. So you see, even simple colouring could help struggling kids to relax. When some students got stressed or angry, they would go to the art box to calm down, and we saw a huge improvement in self-regulation on the playground and less fights. So the next thing I'm going to ask you, do you ever feel alone in your interests? Or do you feel like you struggle to make friends? Sharing interests is one of the main ways to find connections with other people. And like any other hobby, there are millions of people around the world who share the same artistic interests as you. Personally, I've made some really close friends online who I only met because I shared some artwork they liked, or because I saw one of theirs that I liked. You'll find loads of communities on social media or artist-related websites, like DeviantArt, Reddit, Tumblr, Twitter. I refuse to call it X. And they all have their own sub-communities and fandoms, so you can narrow your search and interests further. You into anime? You'll find a group for that. That show you loved from your childhood? There's other people who still love it. That obscure video game that you've never met anyone else who's heard of it? Well, there's a group out there for that too. And then there's Discord communities dedicated to artists, with hundreds or even thousands of members all talking in real time. I've even made friends with people who've commissioned me before. And if you want to make friends in person, there are undoubtedly going to be local clubs and classes and workshops you could attend. So just remember, like any other interest, you can form connections with other artists and maybe even make some lifelong friends. So do you have any friends or fun memories you've made with other artists? I'd love to hear them. While we're talking about how art can benefit our mental health, don't forget the physical aspects of what is important to healthy living as an artist. It's really important that you get enough sleep each night, and exactly how much that is will differ from person to person. Personally, I need a full 8 to 10 hours, while my husband can get by on 3 or 4. You should have a proper diet, because if all you eat is junk food or microwave meals, you're going to feel low energy and probably just sick. Go outside and touch grass. And when you come inside, make sure to have a clean and enjoyable workspace. Don't go leaving trash and food leftovers around your desk. And then on top of all of that, make sure to make time for rest. I try to make sure I always take at least one day of the week off where I just don't touch my tablet. No matter how motivated you feel, if all you're doing is working each day, you're gonna get burned out. So remember that to take care of your mental health as an artist, you also need to take care of your physical health. Now, I've talked mostly about drawing and visual arts, but like I said at the beginning, all of this also applies to other forms of creative art, like playing instruments or singing or writing stories. You don't have to consider yourself as an artist for art to be beneficial to you. The process of creating art is an intensely personal one, and regardless of how good or bad you think the final product is, just the act of creating something will benefit your mental well-being. So what about you? How does creating artwork make you feel? Has being an artist been good for you? Now, another thing you might be struggling with is how to get those artistic ideas out of your head and down onto paper. So check out my video here on bringing some of those ideas to life.